They came, they saw, and they conquered. It's another spectacular performance from the Kenyan athletes as they swept races at the World Cross Country Championships in Guiyang, China. Hello and a very warm welcome to the weekly show Match Point, where we bring you African sports news, action, features and highlights. I'm Mahia Mutwa, also coming up this half hour. Match Point tells you why the bike wheels are turning very slowly in Uganda. And we take a look at the first football academy in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Well, let's begin in Guiyang, China, where the 41st IAAF World Cross Country Championships got underway on Saturday morning. The event has become a two-horse affair, with runners from Ethiopia and Kenya dominating the lion's share of recent championships. And this year was no different as the East African rivalry continued on the course in the 2015 edition.
Agnes Tirop, only 19 years of age, started strong in the women's race on her way to victory in Guiyang. The first lap of the 8,000-meter race saw the field stick together, but with time, an interesting two-horse race developed in the southern Chinese city. The leading pack was soon made up of 12 runners, 6 Kenyans and 6 Ethiopians. Soon enough, the event turned into a two-horse race with 2013 junior women's silver medalist Tirop up against Ethiopia's Senbere Terferi, who is just a few months older than her rival. The two 19-year-olds maintained each other's pace for much of the course, but with 200 meters to go, the two-time World Junior 5,000-meter bronze medalist Tirop pulled clear to clinch victory by a 5-second margin. She claimed gold in 26 minutes 1 second to become the youngest women's senior winner since 1985. Senbere finished second ahead of compatriot Netzanet Gudeta in third. In the men's race, Kenyan runners set the pace much earlier on, sending out a statement of intent from the start. 22-year-old Geoffrey Kipsang Kamworor pulled forward early on alongside teammate Bedan Karoki Moshiri, with Ethiopia's Mukhtar Idris resisting their dominance. With two 5,000 meters Ethiopian specialists also in the pack, Kamworor took advantage of the dry conditions in Guiyang to maintain his lead. With 1 lap to go, the two Kenyans left Idris behind to contest for the tape. In the end, it was the 2011 junior cross-country world champion Kamworor who powered to the lead for victory in 34 minutes, 52 seconds. Moshiri finished second for a Kenyan double, with Idris third, 6 seconds behind him. Leslie Murungu, CCTV.
Now, the final of the Cricket World Cup takes place in Melbourne tomorrow, with Australia taking on New Zealand. South Africa lost their semi-final against the Black Caps earlier in the week by the narrowest of margins. Although the Proteas performed admirably, the defeat has put a question mark against the long-term future of a number of players, as our reporter Dan Williams now reports.
South Africa departed for the Cricket World Cup as one of the favourites to win the tournament. This was a golden generation of players. But once again, the team fell short of its target. That raises a number of questions, not least what next for the team and who should lead them towards the next World Cup.
I would love to take this dream forward. I think there's a lot of potential in that side to make that hope, not just for it to keep it that hope, but to make it reality and to make our dreams come true and to bring that cup back home in 2019.
But in truth, South Africa faces a demanding rebuilding process. Most of the key players are the wrong side of 30, so although they're in their prime now, that's unlikely to be the case come 2019. Former fast bowler Fanie de Villiers feels the current group of players is as good as it gets for South Africa, and he does not expect a similar crop anytime soon.
I don't think we're going to get another opportunity like this. We've had serious game breakers, and we have got serious game breakers in our system more than ever before. The pressure on the day, New Zealand made as many mistakes as us, and they luckily won the game at the end. But a serious lost opportunity. I think it's going to take us another 20 years to get a group of guys like this together and to really try and win the World Cup. It's going to be tough going.
And then there is the question of mental strength. The dreaded choke attack continues to haunt the Proteas, and that will now stay with the team until at least the next World Cup.
When it comes to World Cups, all the heartache of the past has really built up, and it was left to the 15 players who were sent to Australia to go try and undo all of that. Unfortunately, it's going to carry on now till 2019, and it's going to be up to those players, and they have to act on it.
The issue then for South Africa is whether they begin an overhaul now, at least to the one-day side, or rather focus on one series at a time. The selectors have been urged not to panic just yet.
I'm not always too sure that you should aim for a World Cup in 4 years' time. If you try and win every single tournament you play in, and you've got obviously dynamics of winning games, and then you can start playing a couple of youngsters, especially if you know you're going to get into a final of certain tournaments, that's good enough. That's what other countries do, and I'm sure we can do the same.
Next year's World 2020 offers the Proteas another chance to win an ICC trophy. But for the World Cup, that wait is set to continue for at least another 4 years. Dan Williams, CCTV, Johannesburg.
Right now, to give us more insight into this, we can now go live to Johannesburg, South Africa, where CCTV's Dan Williams now joins us. Dan, the Proteas may have arrived home to a hero's welcome, as we saw there, but just how disappointed are they to lose against a team where they were probably better fancied? That's New Zealand.
Yeah, well, you saw after the match the despair, the heartbreak in AB de Villiers and a number of other Proteas players. AB de Villiers was convinced that South Africa would win this World Cup. He talked openly about that ahead of the tournament, and he's at a complete loss, I think it's fair to say, as to why it didn't quite happen for them. Certainly, I think one of the factors is the fact that the fearsome, fast-paced duo of Del Steyn and Vernon Philander didn't quite fire to the level we'd had all come to expect. Del Steyn and Vernon Philander both carrying injuries, I think, in this World Cup. We saw them both leaving the field in that semi-final against New Zealand. So I think that's one of the contributing factors. That said, they did still create enough opportunities, enough chances, and they just weren't taken. At that level, you just can't do that. So the likes of AB de Villiers and JP Duminy will no doubt be having nightmares for many years to come for the fact that they just did not take, as I say, those clear-cut chances.
Dan, so what happens next for the team, especially considering that you mentioned their time and ages against a number of the squad?
Well, the one key thing with cricket to remember is that there are 3 formats of the game. So very quickly, players and management can refocus and say go after, say, Test cricket, for example. South Africa, of course, are still #1 ranked in Test cricket. They've got a very prestigious Test series at the end of the year against England. So they can no doubt will focus on that and will attempt, of course, to keep that position as #1. There is also, of course, a World T20 next year as well. That takes place in India this time next year. So again, that will be extra focus put towards that. So if we do see any experimentation, it will be with that one-day side. But I feel that there will be the further focus towards winning every single series that they can this year. They have got a team at the peak of their powers, and I do feel that I think one of the goals, if you like, this year might well be to try and become #1 in all 3 formats of the game.
Finally, Dan, let's talk about tomorrow's final. Obviously, it's what many pundits are calling the sibling rivalry, pitting the older brother Australia against the younger New Zealand. What can we expect on the final day tomorrow in Australia?
Well, I think this is going to be an absolute cracking game, it has to be said. And of course, organisers will be delighted that that the 2 co-hosts have made it all the way through to the final. For Australia, of course, they're going for their 5th World Cup, an incredible achievement if they can do that. And they did look devastating against India in their semi-final. So they'll be full of confidence. For New Zealand, well, they're unbeaten. And that has to be remembered. They played Australia earlier in the group phase and won that game, albeit by quite a narrow margin. But for me, me, I think one of the telling factors is that although New Zealand are unbeaten, all those matches took place in New Zealand, and this match, of course, is at the MCG. And because of that factor, I feel that it's Australia who are going to win this one. They know the conditions, they have home advantage, and of course, New Zealand haven't played at the MCG since 2009. So I think all of those factors come together, and I think that it's going to be Australia who will be celebrating after the match.
All right, Dan, thank you very much for that. Indeed, all eyes will be on the MCG tomorrow in the Cricket World Cup final, pitting co-hosts Australia against New Zealand. Well, it's time for us to take a quick break here on Match Point. Coming right up. Focus on Uganda. We ask why the bike wheels are turning very slowly in that country. Welcome back. Now, cycling is a growing sport in Africa, but it is struggling to gain a foothold in Uganda. Competitive cycling faces many challenges in the country, as CCTV's Leon Senyange reports.
Sebastian Chigongo is one of the few fully kitted for this 90-kilometer race. He, like many others, has dreams of competing on a global stage. It took Chigongo months to save over $2,000 for his new bike.
Bikes are really expensive. They range between 6 to 15 million Uganda shillings. Most riders don't have that money.
Chigongo's tale is not surprising. Many cyclists in Uganda with aspirations to compete at the highest level have the zeal but lack the equipment. The growing number of cyclists and competitiveness has helped cycling here stay afloat, but the expensive nature of the sport is limiting further progress. Organizing a race is also costly. Riders have to compete for road space with drivers, putting themselves at more risk. Officials here say sponsors could be the incentive the sport needs.
The International Cycling Center, they say that we don't get money from our pockets, we get money from sponsors to do everything.
While riders from the region are beginning to draw international attention, Uganda is still lagging behind.
The people for whom we have to look at are around us. When you go to Kenya with Simon Blake, he's a good coach. He's been calling us day in, day out. Guys, come. When you go to Rwanda, Jock Boyer, he's the one managing the project Rwanda. He's calling us, guys, come. I need to give you some training. I need to give you skills here and there. But we are comfortably sitting in our very sorry state, and we don't want anything better than this.
Samuel Musufu celebrates victory in a race completed by only 9 riders, an indication that it could be some time before Uganda's cyclists emerge at the sport's highest levels. Leon Senyange, CCTV, Kampala.
Let's turn to football now. Next week, the CAF Champions League round of 16 continues, with Senegal's only representation, AS Pekin, looking to avoid an early exit. After losing 5-1 in the first leg to Algeria's US Alger, the team faces an uphill task to advance. But even as Senegalese clubs continue to search for the country's first ever continental title, Celestine Caronet examines the country's domestic league.
A friendly game between league clubs. League leaders NGB ensure their players keep match fit during the league break. The Senegalese league was halted for a brief period to give way for the Africa Under-20 Championships. In a country which produces immense football talent, domestic football is struggling.
I think that the problem with Senegal football is similar to many West African countries, and that is the lack of sponsors to fund the local game. You find club leadership, be it the president or board, often shouldering the financial burden. This in turn affects the performance.
Senegal's National League was formed in 1996 and in 2011 was restructured to feature 14 teams, and clubs' field standards have been improving. The exodus of players to Europe is draining the league's talent base, but it is a reality which Senegalese clubs have come to contend with.
Absolument. C'est vrai, mais c'est une réalité économique.
It's absolutely true that we're having many players leaving for Europe, but it's the economic reality. There's no competing with Europe's financial muscle, and even clubs with money in Africa like TP Mazembe still cannot compete with Europe. In Senegal, we have players earning over $4,000, but it's still way less than they'd get in Europe.
Quand nous avons un bon joueur au niveau du club,
our good players are always living for Europe, of course because of the money, but also because we have no structures at youth level here in Senegal. There are no youth competitions, so kids come off school straight into leagues, and this isn't good. We have now asked the FA to invest in these structures.
For many Senegalese players, Europe not only offers better financial reward, but also boosts prospects of representing your country. The Teranga Lions heavily rely on Europe-based players in its makeup. But even as new coach Aliou Cisse takes over, those plying their trade locally hope that they too can get a chance.
Our prayer is that Aliou can pick local players as well to the national team. The league has many young players who may not be based in Europe but are just as good. And we do need the exposure. But we'll wait and see.
It's really hard for local players to compete with those playing in European leagues, and I think the challenge now is for clubs to do well continentally so that players can have a better platform with which to argue their case for inclusion.
But Senegalese clubs are yet to make any impact in continental football. None of its clubs have ever won the Champions League, and its 2015 representative AS Pekin is facing a second-round exit. Makeshift pitches like these are commonplace across Senegal. The domestic game here facing the same challenges many African countries do, a lack of funding and structures. But for many players here, they hope things can improve because for many of them, the European dream is out of reach. Celestine Caronay, CCTV, in Dakar, Senegal.
Well, now, it may be the most popular sport in the country, but Zimbabwean football clubs and players are now singing the blues. The majority of top-flight teams owe players months in unpaid wages as they battle to stay afloat even as sponsorship funds trickle in.
Zimbabwe's 16 Premier League clubs will this season battle it out for a share of the $1.2 million league sponsorship package offered by a local brewery. They will also compete in at least 2 knockout cups, whose prize money is yet to be unveiled, and they can look forward to a windfall from a broadcast deal with SuperSport. Details of the latter are being kept under wraps, and that's divided opinion here.
Yes, there is monetary value. Clubs get a share of that. The league also is using that money to run the league. And I can't give you the figures because of our contractual obligations.
They have not convinced pundits, though.
I don't believe a deal that's done for a nation can be said it's confidential. So that money, I can hardly say it's getting to the players. You don't know how much it is, how much each and every team is going to get. So it's difficult for us to say then the money is getting to the players. We don't think it's getting to the players. We haven't seen the benefits of that deal.
The fear is that local football could be getting the short end of the stick.
Our PSL brand is a very big brand, but we have to give it the value that it deserves. At the moment, maybe we have that mentality that because we've got challenges, we've got economic challenges, so we just grab whatever comes. We have to win off ourselves from that, because we won't develop. Everybody will come and exploit us.
The PSL argues the broadcast deal, which has a capacity-building component, will help align the way local football is run with global best practices.
The economy should not be an excuse. It's the way we structure our clubs. It's the way these clubs are structured. The first step, of course, is we're trying to get a standard contract for all the players, not in terms of what they get, but in terms of the structure. Because at the moment we have got most disputes involving players and their clubs going to labour court, which is not what is recommended by FIFA and CAF. So we are proposing the establishment of a dispute resolution chamber under the association, which will then help to resolve issues, resolve matters. But the bottom line is clubs have to approach football from a business perspective.
That transformation will not happen overnight, though.
The 2015 Premier League season is about to kick off here at Rufaro Stadium, the traditional home of Zimbabwean football. And while the fans will be looking forward to all the thrills and spills, it looks like it'll be yet another challenging year economically for both clubs and players, who once again will have to rely on their unbridled love of the game to keep them going. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, it's time for us to take another quick break. You're watching Match Point. Here's what's still to come. We take a look at the first football academy in the Somali capital, Mogadishu.
He's a speedster and he's very solid indeed.
It's David Rudisha, 1:40.91 is shown on the clock.
Welcome back. Now turning to Somalia, football there has received yet another boost. The first football academy opened recently in Mogadishu. This new addition has the potential to better the prospects of Somalia's football. In just 2 years, football in the country has gained pace and is now very promising. The local league too has resumed last year and the country has bigger dreams, as Mohamed Hirmoge reports.
A first for football in Somalia. An academy to shape over 500 young footballers. It's a 2-day weekly session designed to train young footballers, not only to gain fitness, but also to identify the next stars of Somali football. Football in this country continues to gain pace. These youngsters are, however, the most promising lot.
I train as a playmaker. My position is number 8. I should be comfortable to play and be almost everywhere on the field. In the near future, I am hoping to play for the local league, especially Hagan FC. I've learnt many things already. Before I came here, I thought football was all about getting the ball and running. Now I know and understand the tactics involved in a football game.
I joined this academy 2 weeks ago and I'm happy to be here. I know the basics of football like controlling and passing. My dream is to one day play for Manchester United. I'm their biggest fan.
For years, the sport was suppressed by hardline groups. They believed it was too Western for the Somali youth. But the city is stabilizing and football is taking its place in helping rebuild. This academy, a confirmation that indeed the football culture is still here.
The academy, it is just a foundation to see that the young talent, they are boosted up so that they play football. That is the aim of the academy, to boost and to bring young talents up so that they play for the league and for the national team of Somalia. They are promising because they love the game. Yeah, they love the game and they are promising.
It's a sign of how far football in this country has come in a very short time. Developments in coaching have allowed youngsters to emulate the greats with increasing ease. This academy is key to secure the future of football in this country by investing in the development of young talent. These boys hope to one day join the local leagues and even play in the national team. FIFA too has recently resumed its support following years of isolation forced by civil conflict and insecurity. One result of FIFA's reenactment is that the city's Koni Stadium now has an artificial turf, which has had a major impact on training. Of course, it may take years before Somali football is ready to compete at international level. But for this young talent, there is far more to play for than merely competing and winning the games. Mohammed Irmoge, CCTV, Mogadishu.
Finally, let's end things in motorsport. The official countdown to the 2015 edition of the Safari Rally kicked off this past week ahead of the grueling challenge next week. The race has seen drivers from all over the world write their names in the history books in its 61 years of existence. So for this week's Matchpoint Top 5, we take a look at the top Kenyan drivers to win the race, often known as the most challenging in the world.
At number 5 is driver Lee Rose. The Kenyan clinched the prestigious rally in 2008 and 2 years later in 2010, driving a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 9. More than 7 local drivers have won the rally twice in their careers, but Rose kicks off our countdown for also winning the Kenya National Rally Championship in 2003 and 2004. Current defending champion Baldev Chagar has also won the event twice. He lands at number 4 on our list for winning the title in consecutive years in 2013 and 2014. On top of that, the Kenyan driving a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 10 won the overall KNRC series last year, quite a difficult feat. Legendary driver Joginder Singh was a force to reckon with in the 70s. The Flying Sikh won the iconic rally on 3 occasions in 1965, 1974 and 1976. He was the second Kenyan to win the race after it earned World Rally Championship status in 1973. 2009 and 2012 KNRC champion Carl Flash Tundo comes in at number 2 on our list. Tundo first won the Safari Rally in 2004 before going on to replicate the victory in 2009, 2011 and 2012. His first win came in a Subaru Impreza and his latter 3 came behind the wheel of a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9. And at number 1 on our list of Kenyan winners of the Safari Rally is none other than the legendary Shekhar Mehta. The late Ugandan-born Kenyan driver was the 14th Kenyan to win the grueling race, winning it on 5 occasions. He would go on to hold several key positions at the FIA, but is best known for being the most prestigious winner of the rally, winning it in 4 consecutive years between 1979 and 1982.
Well, that's where we leave things off for this edition of Matchpoint. Remember, we'd love to hear from you. You can send your feedback to matchpoint@cctv.com. That's our email address. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, and drop a mention there. You can also stay in touch on Twitter. The handle is @CCTV News Africa. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Maher Mutwa.